All right, everybody, happy Thursday. Today is Thursday, believe it or not. Glad to see everyone here today, even if I'm only watching you in my mind, because today's topic, we're going to be talking about branding, which is, I think, something that transcends really the event industry, it transcends business. It gets to the core of what we all have a hand in all of our businesses, no matter what your business is. So joining me today is Channing Muller, and I'm going to have her join right now. Hey,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm so good. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm so super excited to have you on. Because you were the one responsible for the revamp of my own personal website. I just think that you're just such a treasure trove of marketing and information. But why am I talking about it? Let the people know who you are and what you do.
Yes, I appreciate it. I am Channing Muller with DCM Communications. Yes. And it is. I'm a marketing and PR professional. I work primarily consulting with event companies and small business owners to make sure that your branding and your marketing is actually connecting to your sales strategy, right? I want things to not just look pretty, but for them to actually convert for you. And a lot of that requires truly understanding who you're trying to go after and making sure that you're on the marketing channels and utilizing the resources where they're actually spending their time, and that you have a brand that actually resonates with them, right? And it's all about, no matter what business you're in or what industry, it has to be about the one-to-one connection.
Yeah.
And branding and marketing is just a way to do that on a much larger scale right now. So
Yeah, and one of the things that is it always fascinated me about your particular business model in general is that you deal a lot with creatives who are not necessarily known, generally speaking, to being the most left brain people out there, and to be like into the analytics and into the marketing and into all of the fun things that as business owners we have to track. So what has been what what has been your take on that? Like, how have you managed to work with such creative types? Put it
So
that way.
I completely understand. And that
Yeah.
is actually precisely why when I first started this company, I focused on working with people in the event industry because I had a background working in the event industry and I got to know so many amazing people. And it's like, y'all do unbelievable work. And I have to do things creatively with my business, but it is like a whole nother level with some of the things event pros do. And so to see that and see that they weren't either making the money that they should have or they were completely killing themselves, right? Emotionally, physically, everything. It's like, you need a life too.
Yeah.
If you do things a little more strategically, we can do that. So what I found is also the things that make event planners and event professionals, right? Whether you're designers, your caterers, your venue owners, so incredibly good at creating that live experience for people. You get excited about it and you get passionate. Those things are
Yeah.
fantastic, but they are also what shift the sales scale into the client's hands because they see how excited you are and you tend to potentially give away more information than you should because you're excited and you want to tell them all about these great ideas. But what you've done is potentially give away the value that you actually bring to them, which is the reason they need to hire you and not your competitor. So it's a matter of harnessing those strengths and that excitement, but also knowing when to kind of pull back and be like, okay, what should I maybe keep to myself a little bit better? And getting your left brain to kind of factor in, right? I don't expect everybody to want to delve into analytics and stare at this stuff all day. I'm gonna be the first person to say, I don't do my own taxes. I have an accountant for a reason.
Exactly.
That is not my favorite part of being a business owner. It is part of it, but it's not my favorite part. So I found someone else to handle it for me. I still need to know enough, though, to keep my business in track and moving forwards. So for event professionals, as much as you may not love data, what you want to do is actually work in your business more often than on it. The way to make sure you don't have to work on it as much is to put whatever time you're putting into your marketing in the most effective channel possible. Rather than guessing, I should do Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and Pinterest, and I should do emails because this is what everyone else is doing. Analytics give you the exact reason of, well, it turns out only Facebook and email are being open and engaged with. Forget the rest of it. If you have time, by all means, you tweet as much as you want to tweet. But when you're limited on time and you want to work on the events and actually do the fun aspects of things, make sure your time elsewhere is super focused, and analytics are going to be the way to do that. So that's kind of the overall
Yeah, and
I try to teach in general.
yeah, I know, and it's such a hard thing because I hear time and time again, that people are just like uncomfortable with the math and and uncomfortable with this and uncomfortable with that. But that's the thing is like I think that for whatever reason when we're talking about issues when it like marketing, hiring a personal assistant like I hired a personal assistant this year, so well an executive assistant this year, woohoo! But you have to acknowledge that if you're an event planner, you're not the one hauling tables. Hopefully, I have been the person hauling tables, depending on the company I'm working with. But that's not where you want to be. You're not the person putting the bouquets together. Unless it's part of your business model to do so. So you hire things out to people. You hire your accountant to do accounting. You should engage a marketer to do marketing.
Right. Teach, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing I try to teach people is there are some things, yes, that I do that it took decades of study, and still right now I have 7 different tabs of the latest news up on, and not life news, marketing news, marketing analytics news, right? Like SEO best practices. That's what the regular news is that's out there. So I have to keep
Right.
learning those things. But at the same time, y'all, like this is not rocket science, okay? And I am not saving babies. I can go into your Google Analytics for your website and say, yes, there is a rabbit hole you could spend all day in here. These are the top 3 things you need to pay attention to, and this is how you draw a conclusion from that. Forget the rest of it. You want to know even more? Yes, then you call me and I will delve into all the other questions that you have, right? You can find somebody else. There are people who literally specialize in marketing analytics. At large corporations, that is a job. That is a job. All they do is analytics. Those are very left-brain people, right? But what you need to know is enough to be dangerous, right? Where are you getting your website traffic from? That's literally a setting in Google Analytics. Referral traffic.
Right.
Where is it coming from? What social media channels are sending traffic to your website? Very simple. That's telling you, okay, well, if you get a lot more traffic from Facebook and Instagram, conclusion is don't spend as much time with Instagram, or don't stress about Instagram. Do it because you like it, because it's fun, because it keeps you engaged, it keeps you happy. But if you're short on time or you're short on content, put your focus where you're getting the traffic from, because that's going to lead to the prospective clients and then to the conversion, hopefully. So it is. You don't have to know everything, but if you don't, find someone else who knows more than you do and ask. Like simply raise your hand and say like, okay, I don't understand this. Explain it. There's no shame in asking a question, because you're going to be better off than the one who doesn't ask and doesn't ever find out the answers.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those amazing things that between YouTube and Google, and all these platforms and all these sort of people who want to get their programs and companies out there, there's a great deal of free data out there in the world. So there's I find that there's very little reason that someone can't get at least a very surface level understanding
Right.
of what they need to be doing and what they need to be paying attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's true. I think the biggest thing, and what I've seen is kind of that's actually what tends to paralyze people sometimes, is the fact that there is so much information,
Yeah.
right? There's so much clutter, and everyone's got a different point of view. I'll admit, like that is 100% true. You may find another marketing expert who's like, oh, everyone needs to be on Twitter. Well, when you show me analytics that prove that event professionals are getting value from Twitter, I will 100% change my game. But right now, that's part of it, right? It's like, I don't see that there on the whole. There may be 1 or 2 who are getting a lot of traction there. Congratulations. But that's where like doing some analysis, right? There is a lot of ideas out there. You need to find either somebody who specializes in your industry, or you need to look for those who are being very clear about how you do competitive research, right? Let's say there, you find everybody says, yes, you have to do email marketing, you need to be doing drip campaigns, and you need to be on Twitter because those are the things that are blowing up right now. Okay, fine, execute on those and then look at your analytics. Are people opening your emails? If you can refine the subject line, maybe they'll open them more. If you do that and you follow all these best practice ideas that people have and they're still not opening, email just might not be the right thing for your business. So you can utilize all those free resources, but you got to cut out like the clutter. Like, don't fret about doing everything. Use analytics to tell you what actually is working for you and only focus on those things. Super simple, right? It's the same reason you decide to be a planner, not a planner and a florist and a caterer and rental company. Like,
right.
Everybody's got their specialty, right? Like that's why you chose that. The same is true as to what you do with your marketing.
Yeah, and I think that's actually like a really valuable lesson across the board. Even even for those who are watching that may not be necessarily in in the events industry, might be just like looking for like general marketing knowledge. I mean, that's the case. It's like you just have to keep. We were just talking. In the green room, we were talking about start ugly. It's not. You have to build the momentum. And that's something, I've heard from you 100 bazillion times. Like, I can't really count how many times I've heard that from you.
Absolutely.
to put it on repeat. Because there's this false perception, I think, in the world of marketing and in the world of branding, that you're going to hit send on a particular post and that post will go viral. And then we're going to get, that's how we're going to get Kim Kardashian's next marriage booked, or like whatever your goal is, whatever that is going on. And that's not the case. It's not, I mean, yes, on occasion you do have people who kind of skyrocket and who have sort of very immediate looking results in terms of their marketing campaigns. But I'll give you a prime example. Is somebody I've been fascinated by lately is Doja Cat. So have you heard of Doja Cat?
No.
Okay. That's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's one of those hidden things about my personality. I love a good female rapper. I just do. I think they're awesome. Her mouth is dropping.
We can talk about Cardi B all day.
Yeah. Cardi B, she's top. I was fascinated by her story.
Okay.
But we'll go to Cardi B because that's who very similar story. People look at her and they think that she's now this brand, right? She's this marketing machine. She is out there. She has albums. She has record deals. She has picture deals. All these things, and they think it happened pretty instantly until you understand that she had 3 albums before this invasion of privacy. She had that going. She had been in the game, working on her brand, working on her messaging, working on who she was, whether you agree with who she is or not, for a long time. I mean, a long time in relative terms, but
right. No, but like Lizzo was the same way, right? She just won a bunch of Grammys for new artists, and people are like, well, wait a minute, you're that new. Well, I just discovered her a year ago, but her first album came out 4 years ago, right? And it does, like, the biggest thing and I think the lesson everyone, whether you're in the events industry or not, the biggest thing people can take away from that is like, get out of your own way.
Yes.
Because really, if that one Instagram post, if you're relying on one Instagram post or one Facebook post to either go viral or to completely break your business in every way, then we need to have a much larger discussion about a more multi-pronged marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, if one Instagram post is going to break your business, you're putting way too many eggs in one basket, right? Just like investment-wise, talk to your financial advisor, you got to diversify a little bit.
Yeah.
You do the exact same thing in your marketing, right? Don't do all the things. Do a few things that are going to work, but you can't rely on any one channel any more than you would rely on having your business at the end of a cul-de-sac. There's only one road coming in. Do you want that? Or do you want one that's right in the middle of the town that has potentially 4 or 8 different ones coming to you? Me, I live on a cul-de-sac for a reason. I'm not going to put a business on a cul-de-sac. Like, these things are very different. Very different. Right. But you have to start ugly. Which is the way to put it. Like, you do want to have, say a caveat to that. Yes, we want to start strategically, but don't fret over anything so much that you're like, oh, I don't know what to post, so I don't post anything. Well, don't post a cat meme if your brand has nothing to do with cats or humor in general, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
and I use, perfect example. I use this as a great reference point. Anyone who follows me on Instagram, either personally or professionally, will know I love beverages.
Yes.
I currently have 2 different beverages sitting here on my desk. But you will see on any of my posts, you will see wine, you will see beers, you will see 3 different kinds of tea, you will see bubbly water, you will see water bottles, you will see protein shakes. Just because I don't post pictures of food doesn't mean that I don't eat. Of course, I eat every day. I eat beautiful food sometimes. But food has absolutely nothing to do with my brand. So I
Right.
don't share it, right? Like, yes, I do. Just because you have the opportunity to share something and it's beautiful, if it doesn't fit with your brand, you don't need to worry about sharing that. Share something else instead. There's tons of things that come back to your brand that can all help tell that story, right? Which is what everyone should be focusing on, telling a story of what your company is all about. And if you're the sole proprietor, what are you about? Because as much as they may love your logo, what they're hiring is you.
Right.
They like, if someone does not like beverages or thinks that my obsession with beverages is weird, you're right. We may not be the ones to work together because I think they're fantastic. I mean, vitamin water here, more
Right.
water on the ground. Like, it's funny.
know.
It's perfect
Cheers,
for-
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Cheers. Like, you're going to see me with multiple beverages. If it's strange to you, okay, sure. That's strange. Yes, I like to color code my bookcase, right? This is the thing. Some people call it OCD. I just think it's pretty.
It is
And
pretty.
organizer. The amount of jokes I've gotten was like, wow, control much? And I was like, well, when I can, yeah, sure. Why not? If I'm going to do it, why not do it organized? But I
Right.
also don't fret over the fact that 2 colors of blue are somewhat together, but not the exact same. Like, call a spade a spade. They're both blue. Stick them in there and move on with your life. Same
Right.
as with your marketing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is that, just as long as you understand what's happening back there, I don't know why it should necessarily bother people too much. But like, what
'Cause
is that?
it's got to speak to your values, right? Like, one of the things to talk about, and it goes with branding, is especially now, right? I think we're finding in a time when people are not working or not able to work or have lost their jobs or just trying to figure out what this new normal looks like, we're seeing the really amazing aspects of people's personalities and business, and we're seeing the really not amazing aspects.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you fall on the amazing side. So this is a perfect opportunity for you to think about what are the things that my brand, personal brand, or your business stand on, right?
Right.
Those are that we really prioritize. Think of what those top 4 or 5 things are, and then focus on making sure every communication you put out falls within those 4, right? Like,
Yeah.
whatever that may be. It may be family, right? This was something Biz Bash asked me about earlier this week, or the end of last week for a story, was should you be incorporating your everyday life into your social media posts?
Right.
If family and work-life balance and your children have been a part of who your brand is, right? That, like, you don't work on weekends, or you don't do weddings every single weekend because you save at least one weekend for family time, or you don't answer emails after 7 o'clock because that is family time. If that has been part of your brand, then by all means show the balance of what that looks like now. But if your kids have never been a pillar of values that your brand stands on, and you don't showcase that, even though it's part of your everyday life now, that doesn't need to infiltrate every one of your posts.
Right.
And I say that because people are following you for a different reason. They haven't been following you up to this point to see how you balance work and life. They've been following you to see how you do work. So now you can still show pictures of your past work, explain in the captions a little bit what your work-life balance is like. But remember, like, stay true to your brand. Why are people following you? Why have people been engaging with you? Showcase those values. And this is the perfect time to do that, right? If you like volunteering, if you've been doing giving back, if those are things that have been important to your business, and it was, say, through doing a nonprofit event or for sponsoring events in the past, you can take that giving back principle and transition it to making masks for people now,
Yeah.
Or here in Chattanooga on Easter night, we had a tornado that completely flattened entire neighborhoods. Businesses are actually out donating food, or people are cooking for them, or restaurants are now sitting there doing food lines for people. That's not their normal type of event, but giving back has always been part of them, or being a local business has been important. They're not usually posting about tornadoes, but what their business is doing is giving back and is being local. So it still fits within that brand value, and it's timely for what they're actually doing every day now.
Yeah, and I think that I think you touched on a really important thing. Like we were talking like a long time ago when I first sort of there was the course you were giving we were talking about like personal branding and and how important it is when you go out to networking events, that if you've established that you're a suit and tie type of person,
Mhm.
or like in my particular case, like like I'm always wearing something, like I'm always wearing a jacket or an interesting blazer or something of that nature, that it becomes like once if you show up in sweatpants one day to a meeting, it's jarring to
Mhm.
anyone that knows you or knows your brand for being a particular thing. And I think that carries through with social media, is that like a lot of people were asking, how am I engaging with Instagram and everything like that? And I'm like, analytics showed me that I never really received a great deal of lead generating feedback from Instagram. So now it's more of a calling card. That's I'm shifting my marketing towards other things where I'm seeing a lot more engagement, because my brand, my what I do at my core is engage people. I mean, I plan for people, I create for people,
Mhm.
and that when you whittle it down is all about engaging with that person. So if they're
That's
not
what
engaging with Instagram,
right? Events, engaging with people, creating experiences for
yeah,
them. Now we're just forced to do
sure,
it in a different fashion, right? But it's still the same
right,
thing. It's every Facebook group's conversation needs to be about actually engaging with one another. And you're right about the personal branding, right? And you, perfect example right now, absolutely love when my clients listen. Red lipstick every day, every day. That was one of the
right.
things that stood out to me from the beginning. I'm like, from the very first day I met you, you've always had red lipstick. So that's the thing. So if you showed up to an event one day with blue, I'd be like, I'm sorry, wait, who are you?
Right, like,
Because
well, what is that?
it becomes a signature thing, right?
Right,
It's the same reason that like I have people that will like, personal branding wise, anytime somebody sees something on Instagram with a bunny, from random friends to past clients, they send it to me because it is. I absolutely love bunnies. They're fuzzy and adorable, and like since the day I was born. Also,
I'm with you, I'm with you.
right?
They
And
are.
beverages. You know how many drink related things I get sent to me? But I'm like, you know what? Yep, this is part of it. So if I start talking about food one day, you're going to be like, wait, I'm sorry, what? Like, what?
Right,
It doesn't match, because those can become your calling cards. And even if it's something silly, right? Like a standout jacket, or if it's a love of weird beverages, if that's what people remember, that's also what translates to a sticky marketing message. They
right,
remember you, right?
yeah,
Because they're going to remember, oh, wait, she always wears the red lipstick. Yes, I remember talking to her. I liked her. What is it that she does again?
right.
Oh, okay, now. And that's how a simple little trademark thing can translate to an online conversation, a phone conversation, a Zoom meeting, and then that can link to the business, right? It's multi-touch attribution, but you got to have your personal brand together, and it should be the same online as it is in person.
Well, and talking about like personal branding and things we shouldn't, because what we're really talking at our core is like not pivoting away from that. And you have been a proponent of pivot, but a cautious pivot. Like don't do a hard 180. Make sure that what you're looking to do kind of matches what you've already been, like, think about it. Like don't just hard pivot, think about it.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit more about that, and kind of like what people who might be considering a career change, businesses are folding, they find finally that they need to differentiate, differentiate their income, get multiple
Mhm.
streams of income going. So talk to people about that.
Absolutely. First of all, the only type of MRS degree that I'm ever a fan of, right, is multiple revenue streams. And this applies to
Yes.
men and applies to women. MRS, we all need it. Okay. And we need it only insofar as multiple revenue streams.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you want to make sure that, yes, if one thing starts to fall apart, what can we do next? So perfect example of the pivot is thinking about what are your brand values, right? What are those things that you stand on? How can we kind of slightly address them to bring in another stream of revenue? So think about actually, great example. One of my clients is a massage therapist. Okay. Yeah. And usually she is coordinating at like Ironmans and large scale, like big races. They all have like their little Ironman village, and it's got where all the sponsors have their pop-ups. Well, she is coordinating doing the massages for these, right?
Okay.
Someone gets done with Ironman, the massage is the name with a J, MASAJ. Absolutely. But like after someone gets done running or they get done with whatever part of the race is, they get to go get a complimentary massage. This is huge for people at races. She also does corporate wellness programs. Well, guess what people aren't supposed to be doing right now? Touching one another. So how could she make up for that lost revenue while still being true to her van? Perfect example. She now has created a series of products, muscle rubs, skin softening things, right? Like the skin scrub, there's essential. Because when you think about getting a massage, you think about relaxing, all the noises, all the smells, your muscles feeling better. She's now created products that do those same things. She can get revenue through essential oils, through body scrubs, through muscle rubs that help with, sore muscles, right? Like these are things like athletes are still being active, right? You can still run or ride a bike without being there. So she took something that used to be an in-person touching of, revenue stream and pivoted by creating another stream of revenue that ties directly into what she does, right? I have another client who's a wedding planner in Knoxville.
Right.
One of the things that separates her from everybody else is that she does custom painted designs as part of every wedding she does. She legit builds things. Like this is a woman with a toolkit that would make a roofer cry because hers is so much awesome. So what she's doing now is like, okay, well, I'm not doing in-person weddings. So she can't design all these great signs or benches or things. What she can do is make creative signs for in people's homes and custom-made furniture for their deck, right? She's actually building some, I think, for her own deck right now. So she's a wedding planner who does custom designs. Now she's making physically designed art that people can put in their homes, right? So what I advise is for people to think about what are not just the title that you've had. You're not just a caterer or a florist or a photographer. What are the skills that are required for you to do that job? How can you utilize those skills in a different manner, right? So let's talk about the person who's been in-house at a venue, and it looks like they were an in-house planner or they were the salesperson for a venue that is now closed, either temporarily or permanently. What can you do? Well, you've been in a position where you are face-to-face with people, which means your expertise has been in relationships. So you can be doing like if you have the skills as a business owner or in sales, you can do anything else. There are so many jobs that are available online that you can do, and other places that are hiring where that skill set is transferable. You were in-house at a venue before. Well, guess what? You don't have to know everything about every flower in order to sell for a floral designer. Right. You can learn about flowers a lot faster than you can learn about quality sales techniques and what people need for their events, right? So yes, you worked at a venue before. Well, that doesn't mean that you can't work for a planner now, right? Or for a caterer now. You have to learn about a specific menu that caterer is going to be wanting to promote. But what you understand on the larger picture is how to craft an experience for both the customer and the end person events. Because let's be real, we're having events again. We're going to 100%. We are not going to be holed up in our houses forever and the rest of the time. It's just a matter of when. So the thing people should focus on now is how can I translate my skills and my expertise and showcase those, right? Show, don't tell. Giving all the credit for that came from my college counselor, who's also my aunt, Barbara Greenberg. Wonderful. Writing college essays, she's like, show, don't tell. So you don't have to say, oh my God, I'm so amazing at creating experiences. you have to do is show a picture of people having a good time in an environment and saying, the client wanted these things and this was the result. They can see that you're clearly good at creating experiences, right? People want to know about menus if you're a caterer, all right? Talk about flavor combinations. Talk about dishes you can make in your home. You don't need to say I'm an awesome caterer. Like, give a good recipe to people. When they're able to recreate that and be like, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. Or, oh, that really was delicious. That demonstrated the fact that you're an awesome caterer, right? So look for those are the types of opportunities where you're staying true to your skill set and what you're very good at, just maybe transitioning what your title is temporarily.
Yeah, and it's you know, and I understand the frustration that a lot of people are having right now, where they kind of feel, you know, at first we were all kind of feeling the shock of what happened, and you know, the shutdown, and the repercussions of what that means across business lines, not only of our own businesses, but of course, you know, friends and family, and you know, people that we might be in a relationship or what have you. And at least at that point in time, there was no FOMO, where you know, you didn't feel necessarily that by staying home or remaining inactive, that you were necessarily missing out, because everybody was in the same boat. But now, of course, that we understand this better, and we understand the length of time that we will all be out. You know, I find that a lot of people are making those shifts and doing what they need to do. Like one of my, you know, I had been talking about a podcast for a long time, and then I was inspired by the person who was helping me, Molly Ruland. I give her constant shout outs on the show. She was somebody that has been helping me gain that knowledge of how to put together the podcast and put that all together technically. She actually started a very similar program to what I'm doing here. So when I saw it, I said, why not? This is about the same line, you know, along the same lines that I was looking to do in the future with my own podcasts, in terms of reaching out to event professionals and having this sort of interview component as part of what I wanted to put out there in terms of content. So why not just do it? Just go for it and just do it.
Do it. Like Nike was so on point with this, right?
Yeah.
That's what really matters, is that you can have the great idea. You were doing a podcast, but now you're going to do a show. The easiest transition from that is just simply, like, again, when I was saying the key aspect, you were going to talk to people and educate them. Just do it in a different format, right? And you can continually refine and make it better each time, right? Like, you post something on Facebook, you do a Facebook Live. Guess what? They're not perfect. They don't need to be perfect. It needs to be real, and you need to provide value. As long as you're providing value, that's all that matters. And I'll use myself as a perfect example. I did a Facebook Live earlier today, and on the back end, I hit live, and it kind of froze. And I was like, is it live? I can't tell. And then I finally saw the broadcast studio being like, yeah, you're live. Right. I had been live the whole time, and I was going, is it live? Can you tell? I can't tell. Damn it. So now the beginning of my Facebook Live video has that goofiness. You know what, though? As soon as I realized it was live, I started talking, and I provided value, and I gave tips for how to use PR better, or Facebook better for that matter. People start commenting on it. It didn't matter that the beginning was goofy. Okay, it is. Move on to the next one, right? Like, goofy is real, and mistakes happen. And personally, when it comes to business, one of the things people say is, well, like, man, well, what if people don't work with me because of that? Or like, what if it goes negative? I'm like, if people don't work for you because you misspoke one time, or you said something goofy, or your hair was going 10 directions, is that really the client that you want, who doesn't have just a smidge of like grace, right? A little bit of grace. Like, it can't be perfect, but everything just has to provide value, right? You got to join the conversation and provide value for somebody, and information they can walk away being like, yep, I did not waste 2 hours of my life. Right. That was the feeling I had when I watched Lady Gaga's documentary on Netflix. I wanted 2 hours of my life back.
Oh, wow.
It was so disappointing. It was just like, I don't want to go into anything with a woe is me the whole time, right? I want things to be positive. I want to learn something I didn't know before. Yeah. Unfortunately, with that, I felt the only thing I learned was that her life is just very difficult. I guarantee everybody's life is a little bit difficult at times. That's it. It's like, even in group conversations on Facebook, right? I am joining those to hear positivity and solutions and ideas. And when people start to get on the shorter, nasty side with people, I'm like, oh, I don't want to think I want to be in this group anymore, right? Or people just get frustrated. And I think in events in particular, this whole thing totally makes sense. Everyone is frustrated, right? Like, I get it. I truly get it. I mean, this was something the smartest person in the world with business could not have prepared for this. Like, you just don't expect a huge pandemic to stop your business in its tracks and for an unknown amount of time now. We can't fix that part. What we can do is make the most of the time that you have now, right? To do all those things that have been on the back burner. Right. The more you continue marketing now, the better your business is going to be set up for when live events do happen again, because they will.
Right.
100% they're going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
They will. And I think that, I keep talking about, using this time effectively. And I understand that, different people have different coping mechanisms, right? Like, got it. There are going to be some people who can't pull themselves out of the hole, that they are going to completely get in their own way. But I don't think that this messaging is necessarily for them. They have their own demons to fight in all of this. Like, you can only say but so much to someone like that. Like, you know what? I totally respect that you have your own mental health to worry about and to work on at this point in time. But this is really more about those people who are like, you know what? I'm breathing. I am ready to focus on something different right now. What should I be doing? Analysis paralysis. Help me figure out what that next movement is going to be. On a personal level, I took advantage of the FAU, the Florida Atlantic University, had that whole certification class that they were doing. So I took that and got that. And I'm working on my CMP and CPCE, because I just haven't had the time to work on those things. And I'm like, okay, well,
right.
I might as well shoot into that.
This is the time to work on your business, right? And there are so many things, like, you could definitely be doing things right now, right? Yeah. So let me answer. So you mentioned that, like, okay, people need, like, yes, you're proactive. We all had, like, our little misery time. What should you be doing, right? Step one, evaluate your digital presence. Look at your website. Does it really, like, design-wise, does it represent who your company is right now? Right? Does it represent does it speak to also the person you want to attract? Yeah. Right? Change your photos if you have to, update some of the copy. Once you leave the website, go look at Facebook and Instagram. Do those photos, do those bio descriptions. Does the content on there represent consistently with how your website is now? And really reach out to the person you want to be reaching. And when it comes to writing copy, I know this is something that creative professionals in particular tend to struggle with. The words, they got all the design ideas in the world, but articulating the right words that are going to work from a search perspective too gets harder. I want to encourage everybody to go out and buy this book called How to Build a Story Brand. Okay. It is a fantastic book that is going to teach you about storytelling with words. Okay. This is something you can easily translate into lessons for creating events, right? Because in any event, you're telling a story, from the invitation, the very first invitation that goes out, to the whole guest experience when they actually arrive. You want to tell a story, whether it's a corporate event or it's a wedding, you're telling a story. Yeah. Well, this book is going to show how to change the principle, like how to use similar storytelling principles and apply them to your marketing and sales writing. And it is fantastic.
Who is the author on that? Sorry.
That is a great question that I knew you were going to ask. And it's sitting on my nightstand and I don't know right now.
No, it's all right. The reason being is because, there we go. We've got how to build a story brand for those of you that didn't catch it. So then that way I'll take that off in just a minute. But, quick shout out for that. But tell us more about, so you have found it to be a really great thing for your business.
It is. And story brand actually is one word. I'm going to tell you the author right now. Okay. Donald Miller. There we go. Donald Miller is the author.
Miller. Okay. So don't worry for those of you that just missed it. Donald Miller. You're about to get it on your screen.
It is a fantastic book. And I highly, highly recommend everyone read that. I think it's great because you can learn a lot of lessons. I mean, I have highlighting throughout it, and then I have like little tabs on the side because, I love a highlighter and I love my tabs because it helps me to remember what's really the principles. Like, what is it when I'm going back to write a website for somebody or email copy? I want to make sure I'm also teaching them the most effective way to be able to recreate this in their systems and their marketing going forwards. So that's a really great book. I recommend that people read. I think another one that's important for anybody that is a sole proprietor or even a small business, right? Those that have maybe a couple of employees, is to read the book by Paul Jarvis called Company of One. All right. Especially now, I think this is so important. The principle of the entire book, right? And this is why he explains in there why it doesn't necessarily have to be just a solopreneur, but it could be a company of like 5-10 people. The idea on scaling your business without necessarily growing it. What does that mean? How do we increase revenue, which is scaling, without necessarily growing, i.e. our costs and overhead? So how can you scale your business year after year without having to add more employees, which then add health insurance on top of that, or without adding an office, which then means you need office furniture, which then means you need janitorial services regularly, and you need real estate insurance and this whole bevy of other things, right?
Yeah.
So how can we increase our revenue without having to increase our overhead? And there's a lot of really amazing lessons, and I think a lot of questions that he challenges people. This is the perfect time for event professionals to read them because it will help you decide also if you were in-house somewhere and you're now considering starting your own business. This is going to give you the reality of what it's like to run a business, right? Yeah. Or if you have been running a business and you're trying to figure out the best way to move forward, right? Are you going to be able to keep all of your employees? Were you able to get the PPP loan? If you weren't, how can you keep your business alive in a new fashion? And this is a lot of great reading. They're very simple to read too, right? This is not overly complex. So we start with cleaning up your website, making sure it resonates with your brand. You read a story, how to build a story brand and company of one. Make sure your digital presence across social media matches your website. And then the biggest thing you do is keep the conversation going. Whether you're emailing past clients, you're doing what I've done with some is like sending a handwritten note and a little reminder of just what you're doing, right? You need to post on social media. I don't care if you don't think you have content. I guarantee you do. You need to be posting because those businesses, particularly in events that are not saying anything right now, look like they've gone out of business.
Right.
That does not inspire confidence for someone to book their wedding with you for spring of 2021 or their conference for next year. And large companies are looking exactly there to next year. You want to be part of that evaluation process. And the only way you do that is to show them that you're still here and you're still working. Even if you're not on site at an event, you're doing other things to make sure you are a more equipped, better event professional in December than you were in March, right? You're continually learning. That's what shows you as a thought leader.
I mean, speaking of somebody who's still there, I heard Scully's, is it Sully or is Scully?
Sully.
Yeah, I heard his jingle. I don't know if you want to give him 10 seconds of fame.
Yes, my wonderful, he's over in the corner now. My wonderful dog, Sully, has been going through a very rough time, unfortunately. He actually had to have surgery a couple weeks ago, and he now has a cast on his leg.
Oh my God.
I know he would usually be making an appearance, right? As he usually has on our calls. I have a very large chocolate lab who likes to think he's a lap dog and say hi to everyone.
I had the banner waiting for him.
Did, right?
I was just like,
say hi, come here, buddy.
I know. No, that's okay. Just leave him alone. He's having a rough day.
Oh no, he's fine. He's on so many drugs right now. It's fantastic. He's like, I can say hello. Oh no, we're tired. We tired.
It's okay. It's okay.
Look at this sweet boy.
He is.
No, he is. He is the DCM mascot. It's fantastic. If you want some happiness in your day, follow Sully the Chocolate Lab on Instagram, because then you can get a daily dose of the ridiculousness that I live with. And it's just cute, right? As of right now. And there's a reason. There we go. Tab back to the discussion. He has his own Instagram for a reason. I love my dog, but he is not part of the everyday reason that people follow my business account. And he's only part of the reason people follow my personal one, because he is my running partner. So yes, he pops up on my personal Insta sometimes, but in general, right now it's like, man, just go get some happy, funny doses. He's totally okay. He's got a cast, but he's just, hobbling around a little bit.
Well, and that's a really good segue, because where I really wanted to get to was that you're a runner, that you're out there running, and that's a really personal part of your brand. That if anybody knows you, they're going to know that you love beverages, that you have a chocolate lab, and that you love to go running.
These things are, you know what? That is Channing Muller in a nutshell. Yeah, it's true. But it's also a huge part. Running is very much mental therapy as much as it is physical benefits. For me, it was something like I've been a runner for a very long time, but last year is when it really amped up even more. And I found a whole different reason to run, because I even show these perfect examples, right? I think, a lot we read about mindset and doing mindset work on a daily basis, or what it means to be more mindful of what we're doing or where we are. And running became that for me. And it did become something that I started to put in there, because I had a really rough time at the beginning, I guess around springtime last year. And I needed an outlet because I was going nuts. And as a result of my going nuts and being in my head, I was not making sales. And that sucks, right? Like, as a business owner who, if I don't work, I don't make money.
Right.
I really couldn't afford to not work. And so, but I needed the self-care. I started running. I journal regularly, right? And I mean regularly as in like every day. When you can your mind, like more positive, which actually I'm really excited if y'all go get a copy of Health Magazine for the month of May. You will read a story about morning mindfulness practices, and I was quoted in it, which is really exciting.
I think you posted on that.
I did. I actually just shared it on Instagram, because it is like, talk about like journaling is really important, and writing down every day what are things that are positive right now. Because when you're in a good mind frame, whether it's from running, it's from walking outside, it is from taking the time to actually play with your kids, right? Not have your phone around. It's putting your phone on airplane mode so that you just get the silence. Whatever you need to have that little bit of mental self-care, it means that you're also going to be better when you come back to your business, right? Because my head was not in it for a little while last year. I didn't make sales. I was not in the right mind frame. And outside of that, I guarantee, like, I did not give my clients the Channing that I want them to have.
Right.
Because I wasn't there. And as soon as I got my head straight a little bit better, and I was in my routine and I was training, I was like, yep, I'm in it to win it. I got this. And sales started closing left and right. Right. Even with this pandemic, I got out of training for a couple of weeks, because right after everything got shut down, I feel very lucky and fortunate that a lot of people reached out, and my desire to help as many people as possible meant my self-care went into the toilet, and I worked instead of taking the time to go for a run. That led to my head not being clear enough, and me therefore not being able to turn around creative copy or creative designs as fast as I needed to, or to be able to think critically and creatively enough to give people the solutions that they call me asking for, right? If I'm able to give those solutions, I need to have a clear head. You can't make creativity does not just all of a sudden hit like lightning. Like, I can't say, okay, get creative right now. It's like, well, I got to think about it, and I got to get my head in the right mind frame, and then it'll go from there. Running has provided that.
Yeah.
Your point, like, you'll see on Instagram, on my personal one, it's like, it's running, it's beverages, it's Sully. I'm not sure I post anything else than that, because I think it all ties back to it. But like, it's whatever makes you happy, right? I have so many friends who hate running. Y'all, you do not have to run. I will be anyone's personal cheerleader for it, because I love it and I found all these benefits from it. But you need to find what works, because if your head is not in a clear space, you're not going to perform as well in your business. And it's unfortunate.
I think you're right. I think that's what, unfortunately, a lot of people are allowing the sort of the dark clouds to invade their space.
I love that you mentioned the clouds, because that's actually something I was reading when I started meditating last year was one of my meditation practitioners had used is like, think about negative thoughts or frustrations as just clouds in the sky, right? They're dark clouds, but you know what? There's blue sky behind those clouds.
Right.
The clouds are just in the way. So just let the clouds pass and your blue sky will be there. So that's exactly kind of what this time period is. And it's one that, athletes that are really superior do a lot of mindset work and they do a lot of focus. And like they have coaches for this. That's the exact same thing we need in business, right? Not everybody needs a business coach, but you need to be doing it then yourself in order to make sure your head is in the right space to make sales. That's how people grow, right? Is because they're able to offer creative solutions to a problem. They're not just pushing a sale, they're offering creative solutions to a problem. And the creative aspect in particular, I mean, people are in events, like you have to be creative. Like you literally create something out of nothing, out of empty space. So,
and in some cases, less than nothing.
Right? And you can't do that if your mind is cluttered. So what does it take for you to unclutter your mind? And this is a great time to kind of practice that and find out what is it going to take to clear my head so I can come up with more creative solutions for your client when they ask for, can I have an event in October? How are you going to come up with an answer for that?
Right.
If the clouds are dominating, you can't. So you got to find ways. And writing down 10 good things in life every day is one of the things I found to be super successful. A lot of my clients have too. Sometimes it's as simple as like, I have the really fun, awesome manicure right now. And looking down, seeing a little bit of glitter on my nails, just like, I got a little sparkle. It makes me happy, right?
Love it.
It's fun. It's such a little thing, but it makes you happy. And if it makes you happy, then like, okay, sure. I put on earrings today. Also something that made me happy.
And just before the interview, Channing ran for some lipstick because she was like, hold on. Let's just get this all straight.
Like, I want to feel a little more pulled together, right? And it's those little things, because when you are happier, you're going to think clearer and you're going to provide a better self to the people you're interacting with. Because like, no one wants to hang out with a Debbie Downer. Not fun. And they surely don't want to work with them. So if you want to work with people, you don't have to be like a running comedian and you don't have to look perfect all the time. Not like this is perfect by any means, but you know what I get. You just need to put your best self forward and whatever it takes for that to be the case. I mean, I still have one client who does a full face of makeup every day, even if she doesn't see people, but it makes her feel better, which means she's providing a better version of herself to her clients. So I'm like, hey, you want to do it? Go for it.
And if she's anything like me, I find that if I don't use the skill, like I'm one of these people that has never been able. I'm a weirdo that I can't develop a habit in the classical sense. Like like they say, like if you do things 30 days in a row or 90 days in a row, and then it becomes a habit, and then you do things on automatic. I pick things up and drop things immediately.
Using self-awareness.
Yeah. But that means that if I don't, I find that happens, that if I don't put on some makeup for like 5 days straight, because I'll get to the 6th day and I'll be like, oh my God, what does this thing do again? Like I will lose that skill. And I'm like, okay, well, I should do something minimal. So then at least then I'm continuing, so even if it was like a 3-minute face, then at least then at the end of it, I'm not feeling like I've lost all of that skill.
But you're also feeling like yourself, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what matters, because one of the things, so many people have transitioned from being out in an office or even in a co-working space or at a venue to now working from home. Right. And you hear a lot of the advice is, well, everybody like get dressed like you're going to work every day. Don't work in your pajamas. Don't work in sweats. I've worked from home for a very long time. So I'm not gonna lie, I can be super productive when I'm in sweats. And messaging over makeup has like been my thing this whole time. Like I don't wear makeup on a daily basis, even when I do my group coaching calls, because like that's just not the everyday, which is what I bring to those calls. Those calls are about the every single day in the business. But I think if those things make you feel better, like you need to do that. If you're working from home for the first time, not even like, put makeup on. For the gentleman, like find a desk, right? Only work sitting at a desk or at a table. Don't work on the sofa or work outside if you can't. Like, find designated spaces where you can work. And then your brain is going to train itself. That is a designated work spot. If you're working from your bed all the time, your brain will subconsciously wire itself to be like, oh, well, when I'm in bed, I'm supposed to be like, I'm awake and focused here. And then you're going to have trouble sleeping. Right.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like taking the things that neurologists have been studying and that athletic coaches know and applying it to business. And that's how you get people like Mark Cuban, who are insanely successful, right? How you get all these CEOs and these monstrously millionaires and billionaire people who everybody asks, well, what's your morning routine like? It usually starts with them getting up and doing some type of self-care, whether I'm getting up and I work out early in the morning, or I read all the newspapers before people get up, or I have coffee, or I journal, or whatever the case, right? I actually started my whole journaling thing because Preston Bailey had mentioned he does this 3 pages rule where he sits down and just writes for 3 pages and gets all the negative, whatever crazy things are holding him back as a business owner, he gets them out. And then he goes about the rest of his day with a clearer head. Well, similar to how you say you pick things up and can drop them, and like habit is not a thing. I tried Preston Bailey's approach, but I have a brain where if I get all the negative things out, I then obsess over all the negative things because they went from just being thoughts to being realities on a piece of paper. So I flipped the script and I work through things that maybe are challenging to me, but writing out like the solution of like, so this is super frustrating right now, but it's going to be okay because of this, this, and this. Right. Or I don't have the answer for this just yet, but I'm working on the solution, right? I'm thinking it through. By simply putting a positive spin and ending my, like, still get to deal with things that may be frustrating in life or in work, but by putting it on a more positive slant, I'm in a better mind frame and I walk away from that journal, which means I feel much happier and I'm able to actually cross off everything on my list every day because I don't get paralyzed with wasted time.
Yeah.
And that's how y'all can kind of transition from, well, I don't want to, you're at home, you don't have 40 hours a week to dedicate to work. So how can you make the most of the time you do have, especially if you have kids at home? You want to make sure you make the absolute most amount of time there effective. You can't have all of this kind of negative stuff in your head that's blocking you or procrastinating or getting in your way from that success.
Yeah, and I think that's really solid advice for, of course, our discussion has been very business owner, entrepreneur heavy in terms of who we're talking to specifically today. But even for those that that are watching this and they're just waiting to come back from furlough or to just go back to their jobs. I like all of this applies.
It does. All of it applies. And that's one of the things I love about that company of one book is because even if you choose to be part of a massive global, enterprise, right? Let's say you work with you work at Westin Hotels. Random example, just because it's a big name that popped in my head. You're part of the Westin. Well, guess what? That's a larger company, but your personal brand is your company of one. No one is looking out for your career the way that you are. So you have to think of yourself as your own company. So even though this is very much applicable to business owners or to entrepreneurs or those in small business, it's also everybody else who just is on furlough is waiting to go back to work. Great. You still need a personal brand because your personal brand is what you will take with you from one property to another or from one job or one company to another, right? If you're an internal planner, and I talked to one actually in Miami, you were an internal planner at one space, they're considering going to another one. It's like, okay, you are the one that's the transition, right? You're the expert going from one place to another, right? You don't have to worry about the company name at that point because you have your own brand. If you keep your brand of who you are clearly identified, then it transitions from one company to a next or from being a proprietor to not or vice versa, right? No matter where you move in-house or independently, branding is still important and it's there.
Yeah, and it's absolutely branding is absolutely important at this point in time. And I've had just many conversations over the last year with people about their personal brand and developing their personal brand, and it all comes back to analysis paralysis. It all goes back to what are those first steps. And certainly, if anybody is watching the video today, Channing leads some really great group discussions. So if you're not really interested in maybe some like private coaching, she has some great, super affordable group options for people so that you can come in and you can learn more about, how to become a personal brand. And it's not necessarily just for the entrepreneur. It's 100% transferable to someone who wants to develop a personal brand. And it really just, I think that's the first thing is to get out of your own way. Start somewhere.
Absolutely. Start somewhere and just know when to ask for help. Right.
Yeah.
Like even now, like, yes, I know about a lot of things when it comes to marketing and PR and sales, but I surely do not know everything. And when a client asks me something, I'm like, I have no clue, but let me go research and I'll get back to you. Or I'm going to ask someone who does know this better than me. Right. Because we all have mentors. We all need someone who knows a little bit more than we do. And that applies to every person who even considers them an expert. I guarantee you, Mark Cuban had a business coach at some point, right?
Of course.
Personal development one. He knows a lot of things and he's a very smart man and an incredibly, incredibly shrewd businessman, but he also needs someone, right? Tony Robbins, the same way. He also has someone that he works with. Because in the end, we're humans. We can't do everything alone and we shouldn't expect ourselves to, right? Like there's zero shame in reaching out for help, but that first step is really like, okay, what should I do next? Who should I ask? Okay, there you go. Ask this person. Right. That's where also like you get a lot of business from referrals. Referrals are great because someone had the courage to ask somebody else.
Yeah, it's I completely agree with you. I think that sometimes people are just afraid to speak up and get that ball rolling for themselves. Because I think that people are afraid of looking foolish or looking ignorant or looking or embarrassing themselves. And go for it.
Book list recommendation.
Okay.
Right? Okay, I'm obsessed with Brene Brown, and everything that you just said is that people are worried about looking vulnerable or being
What's the book title again?
Daring Greatly.
All right.
Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. Really, you can read anything by her because I read all of her stuff, and she has a great Netflix talk too. But what's so great is that you nailed it on the head, okay? It is 100% about being vulnerable. Being vulnerable is scary, whether it's putting yourself out there because, yes, people could judge. But you know what? If you don't put yourself out there, you also don't get anything back. You don't know, right? And when you are vulnerable and you put yourself out there a little bit, everybody who you've ever seen around you who is what you would term as a success or what they would consider to be a success is because they took a chance, right? Like use that analogy a lot in entrepreneurship about, are you ready to take the leap to make your small business, like your side hustle, a full-time job, right? Can I take the leap? Some of us got shoved off a cliff. I got laid off. It was like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to do this business full-time now. I'll take that as a sign.
Head first.
Terrifying, right?
Yeah.
But it's also what leads to all the freedom, all the fun things, all the setting your own hours, choosing your clients. All of those things come because somebody was willing to take the chance and do it. So right? The more vulnerable you are, that's where the success comes from.
Yeah, and I think that I think you touched on a really important thing. I think that you can tell who has been through very challenging personal things in their life by how people are responding to this global situation. I tend to find that whether you know about what their backstory is or whether you don't know about their backstory, you find that the people right now who are approaching this from a very proactive, like fighter mentality, almost like a warrior mentality, like get your feet on the ground, get up, do something, because tomorrow will come. Tomorrow is going to happen. And where do you want to be when dawn breaks on that day? And and that's the thing is, like, right now we're talking about a global pandemic, but the reality of the fact of the matter is that people have personal pandemics all the time. People have sudden illnesses and broken legs and cancer and your own personal situation, where we're all going through this right now. We're all part of the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. There are people who have faced these storms before, personal storms.
And you can apply those things for coping to the same thing here.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll be the first person to admit, There have been more than one days where I am a crying puddle on the floor of my kitchen.
Sure.
It happened.
It happens.
But learning how to get up from that is what's like, okay, let that out. Don't let it hold you back, right? Don't get paralyzed or fall into that puddle forever. Own it, and then stand and be like, okay, I did that. Now what's next?
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, we're done with that. And now we go and do this thing next. And the reason that some people I think are just able to pull out of it faster is just because they've had coping mechanisms, because they have been through something before. And if they haven't, I mean, up until a year ago, I had not been quite in that type of state before. You have to raise your hand and be like, excuse me, I could use some help, please. I don't know what to do.
Right.
I get emails. I have 6 texts that I've mixed during this thing from clients being like, I'm about to send this out, or should I do this? Sure, absolutely. I love having that happen because I'm like, I cannot solve your problem if I don't know what it is. So let me know, and I will find a way to help one way or another. Somehow you're going to get an answer. It may require research. It may require giving you 5 options that have worked before to figure out which one works best for you. But like, you can do it. You just have to admit, like, yeah, I could use a little help right now. And everyone can. I mean, I have a friend who has 4 children. She has a business and 4 children at home. And I'm like, I thought things were getting tough sometimes with just me and Sully. I'm having rough days. And like, I can't imagine what it's like doing with 4 kids at home too.
Right.
But everyone's got their own thing, right? Like she's used to the 4 kids, so she can handle that. Whereas all 4 plus work would be overwhelming to me. But I'm also used to balancing a very large client load at the same time and doing business digitally 100%. And that's completely foreign and new to a lot of other people who are used to doing things in person. So like everyone's got their own thing. And that's where like, I mean, I love a Facebook group because everyone can bring those different talents of what they've been doing to the same spot, and we can solve each other's problems, right? Or help one another. It's not about a single support system. It's about an actual system of support and more than just one person. And utilize.
And that's what it is. It's like all we can do is, it just, one foot in front of, reach out, reach out, find out what other people are doing, and to keep it moving. For your own sake, keep it moving.
Yeah, there are so many people who want to help now and want to help others. You just have to be the one to take advantage of it, right? Like there's a lot of options out there. Just do it. And if you can, then like those are going to be the businesses that I think we see not just around, but then thriving when this comes back are the ones that just, you keep working, right? You just got to keep working. Every day is a work, like Monday through Friday, it's still work days. It's still work days. It can be
keep going forward. But we're now like over the 1 hour mark. I wanted to be respectful of your time.
I appreciate Yes.
And I want to be respectful of everybody out there, their time. So my final question, the way I like to wrap these all up, I've developed a signature. You should be very proud of me. I've developed the signature.
I love it. Bring it on.
So final question. Everything breaks. We can all get out there and do whatever the hell we want to do. What are you, in your case, what are you where are you going to drink, and what are you drinking?
Yes, all my beverages. Where am I going when I can get back out? It's not the normal. I really want to go back. There's a local bar here in Chattanooga called the Unknown Caller, and they make an old fashioned like there is no tomorrow. And I think that sounds amazing right now. I should be saying something that like, oh, it's beautiful outside, so I want to go and sit on a patio, blah, blah, blah. Well, quite frankly, I sit on my own patio. So like, I'm okay with that. I want to go into this dungeony little bar just because I love the bartenders there. Right. And they remember that I like an old fashioned with 1 ice cube, big round sphere, because that is how it's supposed to be served. And until then, I'm still doing my other things. I have a half marathon I'm doing virtually in 2 days. So I'll
fabulous. Good for you.
Thanks. I'm excited. This will be another challenge because it's alone for 13 miles.
I know.
Right. I had to find a way to work around that, knowing I have a huge challenge in front of me mentally. And I made my water stops at friends' houses. I made a route that went by a couple friends' houses so they can leave me water in their front lawn and I can wave and say hi.
Do you subscribe to the theory of, I said that was going to be my last question, but that's good. I can change my mind. Do you subscribe to the beer during a marathon theory?
During? Absolutely not. No.
Yeah. heard from people who are like longtime marathoners that they like drinking a beer because they find that there's just something about it. I don't know. I don't like beer, so I've not personally done the research on it, but they like drinking the beer because they find that it helps them.
So I have never run the test of that. I'll be honest. I've only been doing half marathons since the end of last year.
Okay.
So I've done three to this point. Three.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. I've done 3 so far. This will be my 4th. I usually I don't carry water or anything with me. I take advantage of an aid station. But at the same time, I am very careful about what I put in my body during a run, because unless during training you've been used to doing this, you don't know how your body is going to respond.
Right.
And the last thing you want when you're actually caring also about your time is to have your body not necessarily agree with you in any way, shape, or form. So I tend to either stick with water. Now, when we're done, 100%, I will run for beer.
Okay.
Like, it is also, I mean, training solution wise is like, you're also sweating a lot. I ran in November last year. I still sweat. So you need a lot of water and you need to replenish the salt. But yeah, no, a beer after a finish line is so much fun. 100%. You just ran for over 2 hours. You just need a couple beers.
Right. At least a couple.
At least a couple. And yeah, it's, you know what? It's the fun. It's the fun part of it. And I listen to soundtracks and all kinds of random music. You got to find a way to keep it entertaining and push that challenge.
That's exactly right. Just keep it pushing. That's for sure.
Absolutely. One foot in front of the other. It's great training advice. It's great business advice. Like, it doesn't have to be fast. It just has to be progress.
Right. Right. There you go. And that's an amazing thought to leave the interview on today. So again, Channing, thank you so much for being today's guest. Everyone out there.
This is fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I get a lot of people come on and they'll tell me like, oh, I was nervous, and they want to do a lot. Like, some people have needed like an hour's worth of prep coming into the call. And like, no, look, it's fine. It's organic. It's us having a conversation. And I swear I won't ask anything too inappropriate.
Not at all. You asked me where I'm going to go drink. Like, I haven't thought about that for a while. Yeah.
Right. Like, that's not on the top of your mind. Right. Exactly. But again, anybody that's out there that would love some personal or group coaching, please reach out to Channing. She's amazing. Her coaching programs, I can personally attest to being some excellent quality content. So feel free. And of course, she's DCM Communications.
All right. Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And go get out on your porch and, give Scully a squeeze for me.
All right. I will. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.